Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha Shir on Sefer Netivot Shalom. Exciting Shabbos, Shabbos Nachamu, Parshas Vaetchanan. Some beautiful passages in this Parsha, but of course, most famously, the Parsha opens with the Tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu, which according to Chazal, he said 515 times, the same gematria as the word Vaetchanan, to be able to daven to Hashem to enter into the land of Israel, despite the fact that Hashem had meted out this punishment or consequence or result against Moshe Rabbeinu, that he should not enter the land of Israel, but rather should lead the Jewish people right out to the precipice of that entry, but not beyond. And the tefillah begins, Vaetchanan el Hashem ba'esahi lemor. I pleaded before God at that particular time, Moshe recounts, lemor, saying, here's the language of my tefillah. Hashem Elokim, Hashem, my God, Ata hachilota la'aretz davdecha et godlecha v'et yadcha chazaka. You've shown your Eved, your servant, me, your gadlacha, your greatness, v'et yadcha chazaka, your strong hand, asher mi el b'shamayim v'aretz asher yasecha ma'asecha v'chi gvurosecha. What other being in the heavens and the earth is like you? What other God is like you, who could do all of your masim, all of your deeds, all of your gvuros, all of your heroic acts, etc., etc. So he begins with this great praise of God's strength and God's abilities and capabilities, and then he says, Ebrana, so let me go. You can do it. It's within your power. It's within your capacity. It's within your greatness, God, to allow me to go in to the land of Israel. So let me go. And Netivot Shalom asks 4 questions on this passage. Each of them is probably a shir in and of itself, but let's go through the questions and with a little bit of the answer that he gives to try to round out the picture. Tzarich biur. We have to explain this tefillah a little bit better. Sharei kol ma'inav shel Moshe hayu rak la'asos es r'tzon Hashem. Every interest of Moshe Rabbeinu, his whole life, was simply to do the Ratzon Hashem, the desire of God. So if God expressed his desire over here to Moshe Rabbeinu that he shouldn't enter the land, what is Moshe Rabbeinu doing? Davening 515 times over here, over and over, trying to change God's mind, trying to change the outcome of these events. When a normal person, you could have a philosophical question. How does tefillah enable us to change God's mind? If God is perfect, how could he change his mind? That's like a philosophical question about tefillah. The question on Moshe Rabbeinu is even more directed. Before you even get to the philosophy, just in terms of Moshe Rabbeinu's personal philosophy. His philosophy was to do the Ratzon Hashem, to accept whatever Hashem gives him, whatever tasks Hashem gives him, whatever direction Hashem gives him. So here, aside from the fact that we could question why he's trying to change God's mind, it's against Moshe's own nature. Forget the philosophical question. Against his own nature to try to question God and change God and redirect Hashem. He should just accept his fate. Okay. Next, skipping a little bit. We also have to wonder about the language that Moshe Rabbeinu uses in addressing Hashem in this tefillah. He says Hashem Elokim, right? Vaetchanan el Hashem ba'esahi lemor, Hashem Elokim, Ata chilota la'aros avdecha, etc. Why does he refer to God by both his names? Havaya, the name Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hu midas hachesed v'harachamim. That signifies the trait of compassion, the trait of chesed, the trait of rachamim of Hashem. Ve'elokim hu midas hadin. And of course, the name Elokim signifies the trait of judgment, of strictness. V'chein. And it's not only this dichotomy that Moshe introduces into the tefillah, but Ata chilota la'aros avdecha es gadlecha v'es yadcha chazaka. We also see the dichotomy there. The gadlecha midas chesed. Your gedula, your greatness, means your overwhelming chesed, your overwhelming compassion and goodness. Like we see, l'cha Hashem hagdula v'agvura. Chazal's perspective on that pasuk is gedula is chesed. V'yadcha chazaka midas hagvura. And the strong hand, that's the toughness. Like in the case of Mitzrayim, when Hashem outstretches his strong hand against Mitzrayim, that's midas hadin, to punish the Egyptians with strictness of judgment. So here again, Hashem, Elokim, which one is it? Which aspect of God is he addressing? And Gadlecha v'yadcha chazaka, again, these two aspects of Chesed, Rachamim, and of Din. Why does Moshe introduce these dichotomies into his prayer? Okay, that's question 2. Question number 3. V'chein tzarich biur omro, Hashem mi'el b'shamayim v'aretz asher yasecha ma'asecha v'chi gvurosecha. L'shema amar b'shamayim uva'aretz, v'chein ma she'amar v'chei gvurosecha v'chei eze gvurot tzarech haya b'chtei sheMoshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom yikanes l'Eretz Yisrael. Why does he call out to God who is in the heavens and the earth? Why does he mention both? Why does he mention any of them at all? And why does he invoke God's gevura? Gvura is something that would be necessary in other cases, but here, what kind of gvura is necessary to allow Moshe Rabbeinu to enter Eretz Yisrael? Last question. Ubima shebikesh ebra naveres aretz hatova zeh har hatova zeh v'halavanon. And in terms of the language of his actual request, let me pass over so that I could see ha'aretz hatova, the great land, the beautiful land, the good land, and specifically hahar hatov hazeh v'halavanon, this good mountain and the Levanon. And Chazal explain hahar hatov zo Yerushalayim, Halavanon za Beis Hamikdash. This is the reference Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to Hashem, I don't only want to go in to see the good land, I specifically want to get to see Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash. Yesh lahavin lama hayat tzarich lahadgish b'miuchad is Yerushalayim Beis Hamikdash. Why does Moshe have to invoke that here in specific? Great, so he wants to go in to see the land. That includes everything. And of course it includes Yerushalayim and the Mikdash. That's the essence of the land of Israel. Why does it have to be spelled out over here in his tefillah? So a lot of questions here. We can go in a lot of different directions. Just to repeat the questions. Number one, why is Moshe Rabbeinu trying to change God's mind over here when Moshe Rabbeinu's whole life mission is to do the Ratzon Hashem? Question number two, why is it that he has the dichotomy of calling God Hashem and Elokim, Midas Hadin, and Midas Harachamim at the same time? He should be invoking one or the other. And here, I would think he would be invoking God's compassion, God's Rachamim, God's Chesed, even if through Midas Hadin, this punishment or this consequence was meted out against him. At least he could invoke God's compassion. Hashem, you're so compassionate. Maybe overwhelm your din with Rachamim and allow me into the land. But he doesn't. He invokes Hashem and Elokim. That same dichotomy is in the rest of the tefillah as well, when he says Gedulatcha, Guvurasecha, Yad Chazaka. All these different languages here are a mixture of Rachamim, of Din, and the dichotomy is very glaring. Last question, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu second to last question, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu invokes Hashem as the one who's powerful b'shamayim uva'aretz? Why does it matter in this context? And last question, why is it that he singles out Har Hatov Hazeh v'Halavanon, that Yerushalayim and the Mikdash are the things he wants to see? Here comes the answer. Yesh lomar ha'inyan dehini kasher yes gzera al ha'adam yesh shezeh mimidas hagvura b'chtei laha'anisho v'yesh shehu mimidas ha'chesed. Sometimes when there's a gzeira, an edict, a decree from HaKadosh Baruch Hu against us, it's emanating from Midas Hadin, and sometimes it's emanating from Midas HaChesed and HaRachamim. What do we mean by that? It goes on to explain that sometimes, like any parent-child relationship, there has to be consequences. And that consequence is a result of the Midas Hadin. You set certain rules into place, and we are free-willed human beings with schar va'onesh, reward and punishment. When we follow the rules that were meted out, that were exacted, that were spelled out, then we get rewarded. When we don't follow them, we get a consequence, we get a punishment, just like in a parent-child relationship. So sometimes the things that we do when we mess up, and Hashem exacts a certain level of a response to us, whether in this world or the next world, that's from Midas Hadin, the strictness of judgment. There are other times when things in our world look like a punishment, look like a difficulty, look like a distress. And really, though, that is not a consequence or a punishment. It's not emanating from the Midas Hadin. It's actually Midas HaChesed, which is doing something to us in this world which doesn't look good, but in the grand scheme of things is actually there to help us, to love us, and to lead us to something better, which we just can't see in that particular moment. So here, Moshe Rabbeinu is really invoking Hashem and saying, Hashem Elokim, I don't know, Hashem, in this context, whether what you're meting out against me about not going into the land of Israel is emanating from the Midas Hadin or from the Midas HaChesed v'Harachamim. I don't know which one it is. Is this a punishment or a consequence because of something I did to mess up? Or is this something good for me or for Am Yisrael in a way that I don't even understand or know right now? But either way, Hashem, I want you to nullify that decree. I want you to take away this consequence of me not going into the land of Israel. But he doesn't know where it's coming from, doesn't understand it totally. and therefore he invokes both Hashem and Elokim. In addition, he invokes the words Bashamayim Uba'aretz. Why? Because the perspective of God in Shamayim is one way. The perspective of people on this earth is another way. Sometimes on earth something doesn't look like a good thing, but Min HaShamayim, from godly perspective, is above all time and above all space. It looks like the right move and the right perspective. So what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying here is Hashem Elokim. I don't know if it's coming from Midas HaChesed or Midas HaDin. And Bashamayim Uba'aretz. I don't know if this is a issue because I don't see your perspective, God, or you don't see my perspective, God, but whatever it is, wherever it's coming from, I want you to nullify this decree. This is coming to teach us that all of our tefillos should be this way. We understand that everything that comes from God, whether it's a punishment, or it's a reward, or it's a consequence, it's all good. Everything coming from Hashem is goodness. Just like when a parent punishes his or her child for doing the wrong thing, it may look bad in the moment, but ultimately we know it's a good thing. It trains a child to do the right thing. It pushes them in the right direction. It teaches them reward and punishment. It teaches them to be better and to try harder. That's the nature of our relationship with Hashem too. Everything is mitzad hatov. Everything comes from God's goodness. שאמנם ודאי הכל מצד הטוב, כי הקדוש ברוך הוא חפץ רק להיטיב, שמדרך הטוב להיטיב, אך יבקש מהקדוש ברוך הוא שהכל בידו שיגיע אליו החסד, אף באופן שתספת הגזירה. But what we're asking from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not only that, of course, everything should be for the good, but the way it should affect us and hit us and experienced by us should also be for the good. That he should take away any badness of the way his chesed is coming down to us or to the world, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was asking for over here, Bashamayim Uva'aretz, that from God's perspective and from the worldly perspective, it should be through the midah of chesed. It should be through the midah of kindness. It should be from a good feeling rather than from something that will cause distress or difficulty in this world. That pretty much answers all the linguistic questions that raised by the Netivot Shalom, but the main question still exists. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu, the person whose lifelong goal was to do the Ratzon Hashem, here trying to go against the Ratzon Hashem? V'ha'inyan sheMoshe hiftzir me'od, af shaya even ne'eman shekol tachlito liosim la'asos es Ratzon Hashem, v'hayu Ratzon Hashem haya shalot likanes la'eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu, the consummate Eved Hashem, whose goal and desire was always to do the Ratzon Hashem, here is going against it, where the Ratzon Hashem was very clear. Moshe shouldn't enter Eretz Yisrael. Yesh lomar shekol ha'tfilos lo hayu avur atzmo, ki im bishvil klal Yisrael sheyeh kvar hatikun hagamor. What Moshe was really asking for here is not that he should personally enter the land. That he was willing to forego and just do the Ratzon Hashem. What he was really asking for is, Hashem, perhaps you can change the nature of the Gzeira against me, so that I could go into the land, not because I want to do differently than your Ratzon, but because by me going into the land, I will be able to effectuate the Tikkun Hagamor for Klal Yisrael. I will be able to allow them to reach this unbelievable ultimate level of perfection, so much so that nothing could go wrong for the rest of their future. They can't be punished anymore. They can't be exiled anymore. Nothing can happen to them because they will reach the heights of the heights. As Chazal explained to us, Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader of the moment of perfection, of revelation, of Har Sinai, would also have entered them into the land, then they would have been ushered immediately into the era of the Geula, into the era of the redemption, into the era of perfection, to the Tikkun Hagamor. וזה שהזכיר ויסחנן אל השם באיס ההיא, היינו אחר שכבש את סיחון ואוג, ויכניעו ביטל אז בייס הקליפוס הקשוס ביותר, שמנעו מישראל להיכנס לארץ ישראל, וסבר משה שעכשיו הזמן מוכשר לתיקון הגמור, שכל הבריאה תגיע לתיקון הגמור וקוים, ואסרו החתום האוויר מן הארץ, וממילא כבר לא יחשש פן יחטאו ישראל ויחל חס ושלום חמאסו בהם. Moshe Rabbeinu, this tefillah begins, at that moment I began to daven. So why is the stress on this moment, the moment after the conquest of Sichon and Og? What Moshe Rabbeinu is really saying, according to the Netivot Shalom, is, God, I thought this was our moment. We got rid of the main klipos, the main forces of evil in the world that were trying to detract the Jewish people from their mission and their goal of going to Eretz Yisrael, from their moment of completion. We just vanquished them. They were done. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ba'esahi, at that moment I thought the Jewish people were ready for their Tikkun HaGamor. And so, Ba'esahi, at that moment, I went to you, God, and I pleaded with you, God, that I should be allowed to take them into Eretz Yisrael, not because I want to go against the Ratzon Hashem for me personally. I don't care. I can stay here, I can die here, but for the purpose of Klal Yisrael, maybe we together, you and me, Hashem, could effectuate the Tikkun Gamor on Klal Yisrael at this moment. And if that's the case, then they can reach this moment of great perfection, where nothing bad will happen to them. There'll be no more destruction, no more churban, no more destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, no more exile, nothing bad could come. Al zeh hayu kol 515 tefilot sheyispal Moshe. This was the nature of all 515 prayers of Moshe Rabbeinu. Lo al atzmo ki'im sheklal Yisrael yizku kvar l'tikun hagamor, not for himself, but for Jewish people to reach their ultimate tikkun. Shayadeshi kanes l'Eretz Yisrael v'yivnes Beis HaMikdash yehad tikkun hagamor v'lo yayoser chshashe yechtu Yisrael. If he would be allowed to go in, not only allowed to go in, but because he goes in, they'll reach perfection. Because they reach perfection, the Geula will come. Because the Geula will come, he'll build up Yerushalayim in the Mikdash, which is why, by the way, Moshe Rabbeinu specifies at the end of his tefillah, he wants to go Asiya Aretz HaTova, Hahar Hazeh HaTov HaLvanon, which Chazal says Yerushalayim v'Hamikdash, the last question of the Netivot Shalom, which we began with. He specifies those because that's his goal. He believes that if he's able to bring them in, they'll reach the Tikkun HaGamor. And if they reach the Tikkun HaGamor, he's going to be able to go all the way and build the Beis HaMikdash, a Beis HaMikdash that will never be destroyed because the Jewish people will never sin again. They'll be able to live in this idyllic existence of Geula, of Mashiach, which will come right then and there. That's why Moshe specifies these two places. Pirush Moshe ya Amud Torah. Moshe was synonymous with Torah. Torah Kedosha Nisna al Yado, because he gave the Torah to the Jewish people. Yerushalayim Beis HaMikdash hem Amud HaAvoda. And Yerushalayim and the Mikdash represent Avoda. V'savar kasher yikanes l'Eretz Yisrael v'yivne Beis HaBechira v'yisachtu al Yado Amud HaTorah v'Avoda yetikun hagamor. When there's a unification of the pillar of Torah, Moshe, and the pillar of Avoda, Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash, service of God, then Jewish people will reach Tikkun HaGamor, perfection, lack of destruction, lack of Korban, Yemos HaMashiach the Geula. V'heishiv la Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem responds to him after this tefillah and says, Al tosef daber elai od b'davar hazeh. Just don't talk to me about this anymore. Don't ask me for this anymore. Not because he was mad that Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to go against his ratzon. Not because he didn't want to acquiesce to the 515 tefillos from Moshe Rabbeinu, for Hashem to relieve this gzeira against him. Nothing to do with that. But because ki adayin lo higia shas hatikun hagamor, because Hashem knew, Hashem understood that this was not our moment of tikkun hagamor. And if Moshe would bring them in, they wouldn't reach that tikkun hagamor. Rather, they would reach greater destruction that was unanticipated by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, you had a great instinct. You wanted to daven for Klal Yisrael and bring them into this land and reach that moment of perfection. You were so, selfless in this moment. But Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm telling you from my perspective, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Jewish people are just not ready yet to reach that tikkun. And if they're not ready yet, if this is not the Shas HaKosher, this is not the moment, the auspicious time, then only destruction can come. When the right time comes, when the Jewish people are ready, they will reach that ichud, that will reach that unification of Torah and Avoda. They will reach that moment of Tikkun HaGamor. They will reach that moment of Geula, at which point the Jewish people and the rest of the world will come along and have such great awareness of Hashem that they will never sin again, that they will never reach destruction again, and that life will be totally beautiful and totally perfect in that era of Tikkun HaGamor, but not yet. Hopefully, every year that goes by, every Shabbos Nachamu that goes by, as we get a little bit of Nachamu about the eternity of the Jewish people, we can strive to reach that level, which Hashem will be ready to tell us, this is the Shas HaKosher. This is the moment Moshe had anticipated. This is the moment of the Tikkun HaGamor, when we can unify our Torah and our Avoda, our Gemilut Chasadim, and our connection to the land of Israel, Hahar Tov Hazeh V'Halvanon, Yerushalayim in the Mikdash, ultimate perfection of the Jewish people and the world. May it come very soon in our time. Shabbat Shalom.